here we go on the mountain, and just a nice cooler stroke. That's a little too cool. If it's too cool, add a little bit more transparent oxide red to it, and that'll warm it right up. We go over these shapes in here. That's a razor sharp edge that I have right now. So I'm just gonna kind of drag up into the white and unrazor sharp it. Let's just have it be a firm edge. That makes more sense. Sometimes cameras get confused about edges on mountains. So it can be firm, right? But it doesn't have to be that sort of really, really sharp that I had a second ago. Leaving some of that warmth in there. But, you know, we talked about this quite a bit in yesterday's feedback session. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the feedback sessions from the 20th of November, talked about how important the contrast from these elements on the land is to give that sun its brightness. So just see how just painting that with a little bit more solid a paint film and keeping it that number 2 value, the lights just turned on right here. I mean, it's so bright now, especially if you can imagine framing that with a black frame, it just really starts to glow. So the maybe a little bit more to do right there, but that's a good start. And I'm just going to work that browner tone in right here, and we're off. Okay, I'm gonna take my finger and sort of fix that edge right there. Now, a little bit more of this off to this side. I'm just twirling my brush to give the treetops there. There we go. Some trees in there. And all right, there we go. Let's pull out the glare. And there's that really subtle, I didn't want too much attention here, but that series of hills really helps us see the depth in this scene. I'm gonna take, this is the Meridian transparent oxide red mixture from before. We can see just a little bit of light right in here. And I'm going to pull the glare out. There we go. It's hardly visible, but there's a little bit of a change there. Okay, one last thing to do to get that sun to glow. And I'm going to take just gold ochre and white. And so it's just a lightened gold ochre here to a value that's about a number 4. Yeah, number 4 value right here. On a small brush, I have a number 2. And I'm just going to ever so gently go right along this edge. And this is just to show the intensity of that sunlight as it sort of breaks over the edge of the mountain, but you're not really meant to see it. one of those things that you want to be there in the painting, but you don't want people to go, oh, look, the yellow. He painted the mountain yellow. You just want there to be a little hint of it there, and it just improves the effect of the glow in that painting. So I'm gonna run this up like this.
What color are you using to do that? What mix?
Just gold ochre and white. A
Okay.
little bit of gold ochre and white. There we go. And just it's a little bit arbitrary there, but it worked just softening things on that side. So we have that really strong gold ochre and white for the highlights, right? That is number 10 values where we're just adding, and I can do it again, just a little bit of titanium or a little bit of gold ochre and a lot of titanium. Really strong edges, beautiful, bright there. And we have that sunlight. And I do want to make sure though, just as we finish this off, that the edge that our eye goes to is down there, just so that we get our eye sort of moving down this zigzag. So I'm re-establishing something here. I'm just going to take that gold ochre then and just put it in here. So it's really interesting. And I'm just going to ever so gently soften that edge right there. And the reason for doing so right there is because I want your eye to go here, right? I want that to be the spot. That has to do with the composition. If I really put your eye over here, then even though we still need a lot of contrast over there, I don't want your eye to be sort of moving in that direction. I want your eye to come sort of dancing through the clouds down to here and then carry on your journey, which leads me to the next thing that's bothering me the most. And it's really a lot of eye flow stuff now. I'm going to bring in, oops, that's too light. This is transparent oxide red and ultramarine. And I'm just going to lighten this a little bit right in here, work it into that color that we had here already. And more contrast here between the thing that's close and the thing that's far just means, again, that the viewer's eye, not that bad. Let me get the glare out there. Okay, now the viewer's eye, again, is coming here, now here. We're not getting lost. And this is where we have one more little journey to make. And I have it in the study, but I'm exaggerating it a little bit here. I'm just going to bring the field that goes up the side of this hill, and we'll need a little bit of green. So Viridian, transparent red oxide, and white. I'm going to do the trick here. Viridian, transparent red oxide, and white. And we just have the field that's going up that hill. And that, as you can see, is my way of sneakily trying to make sure your eye takes the turn, right? So I'm going to lose all the glare. It's a bunch of glare right there now. I'm just going to pull the glare out with my big glare removal brush, and now you can see what's going on. Just trying to work this field, although it's in shadow here, up into the side of this hill, which I can see in the source a little. And the reason for that, so that your eye makes that connection. Keep losing it. Take the palette knife, put it in. There we go. That's better. Almost like signs for the viewer's eye to follow. look here, look here, look here. And then we need, and they're not here at all yet, more transparent oxide red and Viridian. These zigzag lines through the piece here. So there's a little bit more of that fence line, though I didn't want it all the way. And then we can have that little tree that's growing up right there. But I didn't want to bring that line all the way to the edge because it really kind of just leads your eye away. But it is nice to have right before we get to the edge, just a couple of fence posts. Kind of just continue that fence line idea. And then let's go to Viridian and Gold Ochre here. Get some shadows on this ground plane. Just we just say uneven parts of the ground, cast little shadows, and we get these lines through. Okay, and I'm just seeing an opportunity here to do something a little bit more interesting. So this is Gold Ochre, Bismuth, and Viridian still. Just more Gold Ochre and Bismuth, make it a little bit more of a yellow. Some white in there too. Okay, I think that's going to be good. Load up my brush with that, and here we go. I'm just going to put a little bit more. Oh, that didn't work. That wasn't enough. So back on the palette, just adding more Gold Ochre and more Bismuth. And let's try again. There we go. That might be a little bit too white or too light, too yellow. So I'm adding some white. That's going to gray that down a little bit. Now, again, here we go. And the goal here is just to show how intense the sunlight is right there. Just say there's an opening in the clouds that's leading to more light. And we already had that, but I'm just pushing it a little bit more in the last seconds of this painting here. And I think that's going to give just a really sort of that magical feeling of the light on the landscape. So just pushing that a little bit more. Now, there's a lot of glare on this painting. It's a lot of glare. So I'm going to take all the glare out and you'll be able to see more clearly what's happening here. Gently pull up on that glare. There we go. And now it really feels more like there's some sunlight right on there. You have to be careful. I have to be careful. We don't want to go too yellow-green. Still has to be somewhat grayer, but a little bit more light there. That works well. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up a bigger brush, flat number 8. And I'm just going to finish off these closer field colors. Same mixture, just more of each and no white at all. Oops, here we go, Gold Ochre. And this is nice because this has been setting up the whole time. So I can just kind of drag this color over it and it's going to leave some of the warmth from underneath and just give us some really nice texture of grass. I'm pushing it even darker. You can see that. I'm gonna blend that right to there. The reason for pushing it even darker is that I really want this back here to really shine like it's more in that direct sun. So there's just ever so slight a shadow starting right here. I'm just going to use the same brush to remove the glare so you can see what I've done here. Pretty impressionistic and brushy, but when the focus is on the sky, you can have a little less intensity in the landscape. All right, there's some shadowy lines that are connecting our S-curve, which I feel are vital. So I'm bringing them back in. There's our lead in, compositional lead in from the bottom. Talk more about that soon too, but just so that you know it's there. And okay, those are all the shapes and values that I wanted to see in the foreground. Now for just a couple of details here on the palette, I'm just after this. This was the number 1 value, gold, well, no, Viridian and transparent oxide red, used it to paint that tree. And now I'm just going to bring in a few of those fence posts, which always finish off a agricultural scene nicely. Put in another one there. I think that makes sense. And they're also different value. This is back to that darker green that I was using before, but not the number 1 value. A little bit more of that fence line going back. Okay, one last thing really bothers is the sort of brown that I can see so clearly right in there. It's kind of like a brown smudge right in the middle. And I get the question quite a bit, how many, how do you decide which part of the um, underpainting to leave showing and which part to cover up? And it really is, I just try to leave it alone, kind of color to the lines and leave a lot of those lines alone in the beginning. And then in progressive layers, asking the question, what bothers me most? I just cover up anything that bothers me. So that's bothering me back there. I don't think we're getting good depth out of it. So just removed it. And going to take this is a clean palette knife along here. And there's a sort of a break right there now that I need to fix. And I'll just take this blue, paint it right in there. That was the ultramarine and pyrrole blue. To patch that little hole, give us a neat little cloud shadow back there too. Okay, and that concludes this demonstration. The main thing that I wanted you to see here, I'm just gonna soften this actually a little bit here. The main thing that I wanted you to see here is that gradient in the sky in this particular painting from right to left, light to dark of the sun. The goal is to paint that shining sun accurately in the sky and really make it feel like the light is shining in your painting. And that's what I'm starting to feel from this one. Those lights over here, darker progressively as we go over that way. That's how you get that effect.